What's up, everybody? How you doing? I am Crash, and today we're going to look at a game of EG versus Faceless. The 1v1 matchup of Sumail as Invoker versus Jabz as Ember Spirit. This is from a game of the group stage of DAC 2017. If you have played more than 5 games of Invoker, you will know that he does a whole lot of nothing in a laning stage until he gets some early levels. So here we're expecting from Sumail, get in the lane, try to get as much last hits, get good trades, and try to get a few levels up and then start harassing Jabz, because he probably overpowers the Ember Spirit at that point and probably either tie it up or pull ahead. Jabz, on the other hand, with a poor man's shield, he can block out most of the harass damage from Sumail at the early levels. He is a cooldown reliant hero and his spells are very weak at the early game, but when he gets up to level 4 or 5, we will probably expect some support rotations coming in, trying to secure a kill with Flame Guard and the chains. And then from there, when Jabz gets around level 7, he can probably just rotate out and go to the jungle and complete his early farm so that he can be effective on the map. Let's go ahead and jump to the minus 10-second mark, shall we? Alright, there's a nifty trick, or a pro tip if you will, in picking up the rune. You see, Sumail is facing the rune, he picks it up, wastes almost a second trying to turn around. Now let's see how Jabz does it. What Jabz does is he stands near the rune, but he is facing the creep wave and has his back on the rune. Let's see what happens. Magic happens. He picks up the rune without even having to face it, but Sumail faced the rune. What happens here is Jabz can get to the creep wave around 1 second faster, which can help him block more, which can probably make or break the mid lane for the first minute or two, and put a slight dent in the enemy's economy, because they probably will either miss attacks and last hits on the high ground of yours, or, well, they can't move forward if you have a support with you. Regardless of what I said, the creeps are going to meet in the middle in this game. We have Zai as Kanka near Sumail, trying to help him out a little bit. Let's see how the first creep wave goes for Sumail. His melee creeps are pulled away. He has 3 melee creeps hitting his ranged. He pops a tango, trading hits. Tries to get a deny on the range creep, but doesn't get it. Tries to get a deny on the melee creep and gets it. And then tries to get a deny on the other melee creep, and it doesn't happen. So let's assess the situation here. He has 4 creeps alive, so he hasn't done anything just yet. But the creeps are going onto his high ground, which is very good for him. And other than that, he gets 1 deny off, but it is not the range creep, so it's not that big a deal. Let's see how Jabz does. The creeps once again meet in the middle. Jabz goes for aggroing the melee creeps successfully. Gets 3 melee creeps near him. Pops the Flame Guard trying to farm them. Here comes the torrent. He had no idea, but it just didn't hit. He gets the last hit on the range creep, which is good. Misses that 1 deny, trying to run back to the courier. And the last creep, he is trying to secure it, and as we know, he does it. Alright, so Jabz gets 3 last hits. He of course doesn't get any deny because none of his creeps are dead, but he gets 1 creep denied. All in all, it's a great first creep wave for Jabz. After the first creep wave, Sumail pulls them to the high ground. The next creep wave is coming. He has a perfect position to last hit and just farm up and deny Jabz anything, but Jabz pulls them down, which is good for him. He can at least get those. Sumail gets a deny on the range creep, which is expected because it's so far up on his high ground. Jabz is trying to secure the other last hits. Fails on this one, fails on the other one. But, well, he's trying to deny that range creep. Now here is the tricky part. Jabz doesn't have any creeps. He is far into Sumail's high ground, but he is putting pressure on Sumail. You wanna know how? Let's see. He is constantly trying to deny that range creep, and it forces Sumail to focus on him and seeing if he gets the attack off. And that makes him miss last hits on their tower, because the tower constantly is killing the creeps. See? The next one, Sumail tries to last hit, he can't do it because Jabz is keeping him busy. And that's how Jabz is putting pressure on Sumail, even though his creeps are under Sumail's tower. What happens next is a pretty important part of Invoker's early game. Let's see what happens. Universe calls for Sunstrike, Sumail does it. But sadly in this case Universe gets the kill, Sumail doesn't get the assist gold either. So in other cases that would have been first blood for Sumail, that would have been the first blood gold and the experience, and it would have pulled him ahead, taken him closer to his boots and then to his Midas. That is the case for Invoker in the early game. Every single game that you go with Exhort build. So when you start a game as Invoker, please just type in your chat or talk on the voice chat and just tell your teammates if they need a Sunstrike, if they need extra damage, if they can lock a hero down. They can just tell you that you can watch it and just drop a Sunstrike. That's gonna boost your GPM by so much in the early game if you actually hit a few Sunstrikes. Please remember that. Further down the line, the first gank of the Dire team happens. As you can see, Sumail has a ward on Jabz's high ground, so he has good vision of the shrine area and he will see any gank from the top lane coming. Let's see what happens. He sees the Earth Spirit in the river, he moves back, he goes to the max range trying to last hit from his own high ground, he last hits and then runs back, and that helps him avoid a gank. So Sumail tries to get in range to get a last hit, but then when he's not attacking, he just moves back to his high ground, and that helps him just be far enough from Ember Spirit that he can't follow up with Earth Spirit roll. And that is the value of the ward here. Let's take a look at this gank from the Dire's perspective. As you can see, the Earth Spirit is trying to look for a courier snipe as it is 2 minutes and Sumail hasn't ferried anything in a while to himself. But he gives up, comes through the river trying to stay out of range, comes to his own high ground trying to roll on Sumail. Sumail moves back, then moves forward for last hit, he sees the chance, he rolls for it, but Jabz is too far away and the gank fails. Now, what happens next is the result of Sumail dodging the gank, because he obviously had an idea that Earth Spirit was there. So what does Earth Spirit do? He moves up, drops a sentry, sees the ward, eats it up, and goes away. So having the ward in the mid lane is very important if you can avoid a death by it, but then always be careful to not give it away by doing random shit. But Dire doesn't really give up. They want to try again. The creep wave is pushing onto Jabz's high ground, he has all his spells off cooldown, and the vision has been removed. So why not try again? Let's see what happens. Sumail is trying to do some denying, but Earth Spirit, as you can see in the minimap, just moved into his vision. And he is very aware of it. He was looking at the minimap. As soon as he sees that, he turns around. Well, 1 second after that, I was wrong. But he runs away and the Earth Spirit misses the roll and the gank is failed. Here the lesson is, when you are pushing into a dangerous position, always have a look at your minimap. Don't just look at the enemy hero tunnel visioning on harassing him or, getting denies off. That is a prime time for the enemy support to jump you. So always have an eye on the minimap. And that is what saves Sumail. Let's move on. So a minute down the line, Sumail is almost level 5 and some creeps come and go. They just try last hitting, nothing special happens in that minute. Now let's see what happens now. Sumail has his alacrity and it's giving him 25 damage. Jabz moves in trying to get secure at last hit on the range creep, but what happens is Sumail just keeps right clicking him and it takes him down so low. And well, Jabz has to pop a salve, but the point is, level 4 Invoker, level 5 Invoker with level 3 Exhort. Now, let's see how much the alacrity damage is. It's 40 damage right now. The last level was 25. So every time Invoker pops an alacrity, which is 60 mana, he gets plus 40 damage for a couple of seconds, and that is deadly to Jabz. He pushes Jabz out of the lane. Now let's see if he can do it again with his alacrity and, well, the power curve Invoker has in lane. As you can see, Jabz comes back after salving up, trying to get last hits, but Sumail's damage is pretty high. Sumail just moves up, pops the alacrity, and Jabz has to run away, because if Sumail right clicks him, well, Jabz is done for. He doesn't have any regen right now. So this is the power of Invoker. After a few levels, you can really put the damage into your enemy. Abuse that. Don't just farm. Also make sure you take farm away from the enemy. Now, after getting pushed off the lane for the second time, Jabz goes for the bounty rune at the bottom, but Ice Ice is taking it, so he runs back, pops the flame guard, tries to get last hits with the flame guard and the searing chains, but Sumail denies one, he misses one, he only gets one last hit, he has half his HP taken as damage, and he has to run back again to shrine with the teammates. This is his problem for him now. He has been pushed off the lane 3 times. Let's see if he tries again. Now, what happens here is Jabz has communicated his problem to his teammates, so he has 2 supports coming in for a gank to try and alleviate the issue, but the supports of EG are also there, so they come in, they take a skirmish, nothing comes out of it, they run back, and Sumail again, alacrity is up, attacks Jabz. He thinks he's done for in this lane, so he just rotates to the jungle, he asks his Ember Spirit to come middle, to take up the experience, maybe some farm, and that is the end of the laning stage. Let's do a recap of the laning stage. At the early minutes, the first 3 minutes, Jabz takes almost all the last hits with his poor man's shield and his quelling blade. The harass damage is not that much. Sumail doesn't really have the damage to deny him or put some pressure on him, and it goes on for a good few minutes. And they try to gank Sumail and just keep him down and not let him get past levels, but it fails twice, once because of the ward and the other time because of day vision. So when the ganks fail, Sumail hits level 4, 5 and the next levels, and he can just put pressure on Jabz with alacrity. Looking at last hits, Sumail sits at 30 last hits versus Jabz's 25. That most of Jabz's last hits come from the early game, and most of Sumail's last hits come from 3 minutes and onward. Sumail has a lot of denies as expected. After he gets the alacrity damage, he can pretty much outlast hit Jabz and just out deny him. And he does that so much that Jabz is pushed off the lane at 5 minutes. Now in the end, looking at the net worth, their net worths are almost equal, like less than 100 gold difference. But the thing is, Jabz is pushed to the jungle at level 5, while Sumail just sits under tower and farms against an Earth Spirit that is far weaker than an Ember Spirit. And the Earth Spirit really can't do anything, so Sumail gets free farm from this time forward, and it secures a good game for Sumail. That's it for this 1v1 analysis. If you like this video, please press the like button, and if you like my channel and my content, please subscribe to my channel to be notified of further content. If you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, please leave that in the comments, I'll make sure to answer them. And I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.